Hello, and welcome to the totally 100% real, not clickbait, absolutely true history of video games. So let's just get started with a totally 100% real, not clickbait. So it begins long before Earth even existed, in the Heavenly Arcade. Every game that can, is, or will exist here. It's where you found your favorite game, or that you hate games. Even with god-tier specs for every machine. For example, an RTX 7090 and an AMD Ryzen 36 billion X. The first game in the Heavenly Arcade was the Bible game, of course. Then came Doom 2016 and all the rest. Once Earth was made, people were so bored because they had no TikTok or Subway Surfers, so they needed some form of replacement for video games. So there came the first sports. One of the first sports ever was who can die dysentery faster, but that game got boring, so they needed a Sea of Thieves alternative, so then came Pirates. Eventually, Benjamin Franklin, the best president, made electricity. Eventually, England, and the soon-to-be home of video games, got angry with each other, so they whined and fought over the most important land of all time, the home of video games. Eventually, the home of video games won. Then, France had their own revolution and killed a lot of people for some reason. Fun fact, je parle français petit. Eventually, World War II happened, which was inspired by Call of Duty World War II, of course. Happened, and some pretty crazy stuff happened. Then the Cold War, which was inspired by Call of Duty Cold War. Soonish, the moon landing happened, so No Man's Sky did a lot for humanity. Soon, in November 1972, the true beginning of the universe, the largest achievement had been achieved. The first video game to be ported from the Heavenly Arcade to Earth. Computer space. I definitely knew what that was before making this video. Soon after that game came Pong. Pong was revolutionary. Because of the creation of Pong, both tennis and ping pong were made. The two paddles moving across the screen to hit a ball was insane! Humanity wanted video games at home, because if they don't, the true Heavenly Arcade will never come to Earth. Which is the reason the universe was made in the first place. To make a better Heavenly Arcade. So the first games console was released, the Magnavox Odyssey. Only 28 games were released for the Magnavox Odyssey. All 28 of them were the Bible game. Soon, the video game black market came into fruition, leading to thousands of deaths with game addicts to innocent game enjoyers who knew too much. Over in Italy, the Mafia was reformed to Mafia the sequel. They only dabbled in war crimes if video games were involved now. The first arcade was formed, including a black market in certain establishments. The first arcade consisted of Pong and the Bible game. The black market sold only the best tactics and strategies for those games. Soon, the Atari 2600 release was to a good audience. However, Coleco and Mattel were angry because they wanted money too, so they released the ColecoVision and the Intellivision respectively. All three kind of sucked, especially E.T., the video game. Jumping forward a little bit, Japan wanted a piece of that pizza pie as well, so Nintendo made their first game. After dabbling in hotels and taxis, they made Sheriff and Radar Scope. I have not played it, and safe to say, it probably sucked. One key detail is that Shigeru Miyamoto worked on it. They made some other games, but not really notable till Donkey Kong, which was okay, I guess. Pretty mid, I don't know, man. For some reason, time skipped like 5 or 6 years, totally not because I was too lazy to study. The NES had a lot of games, and practically killed Atari, especially after the game that shall not be named, and saved humanity from restarting from scratch for the second time. Because Half-Life 3 never happened. Can't have 3. That one game, Jumpman Adventures, released and was pretty good for the video game industry, and the Bible game for NES. Best two launch titles of all time. Soon, Sega got angry because they wanted the Bible game too! So the Master System came into existence, and it did get the Bible game. All sources are faked. The one and only Master System game was the Bible game. Moving on to the next generation of games, because arcades no longer exist, or the Mafians of the sequel, turning them all into black market trade centers. The Super Epic Gamer, awesomely cool Nintendo, and the Sega first book of the Bible came real, and they were okay at best. Sonic had some pretty good sandwiches though, so no complaining. Sega decided to release the CD, so Nintendo got angry because, we want larger games too. So they talked to Sony, and Nintendo didn't like their deal. So instead of making a disc drive for the system, they made their largest competitor, who can make the first Heavenly Arcade on Earth. The next generation consisted of the PlayStation 1, Nintendo 64, and the rotting corpse of the Sega Saturn. PlayStation decided to be cool and made the Bible game, 32-bit edition. The Sega Saturn died because it had no Bible game. Nintendo 64 was a disappointment to its parents because it had no CD drive. However, Jumpman Adventure 64 became real with Donkey Kong dying. The next generation was the Sega Dreamcast, bad naming scheme box, PlayStation 2, and GameSquare. The GameSquare's parents said I got a C in the game slot again, and with an A in games. The PlayStation 2 is epic with the ability to watch the Super Jumpman Bros movie in full AV quality. The bad naming scheme box had online play through the power of Netgear, but it had the Bible game, so now online multiplayer Bible game can be played. Sega, because yes, frick it, decided frick it, we're done, and jumped off a cliff, only for Nintendo to make them their slave by putting Super Monkey Ball on a GameSquare. Yeah, okay, cool, man. I forgot to talk about handhelds, so Gamer Gear, Gamer Child, me, and Weird Atari Thing. Then Cooler Gamer Child, and you're up to date. Because people needed happiness in life, because the GameSquare flopped hard, being their worst sold console behind VR with a huge asterisk, release the dual screen handheld, or DS, something. Second most sold console behind PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 2 could watch the Super Jumpman Bros movie, so it deserves number 1. The DS had 2 screens, you moron! Why would it be called the dual screen handheld? Why do I even need to explain this? The bottom screen was touchscreen, so you could touch grass even less now! Instead, you can touch digital dogs. The next generation had the Me, the bad naming scheme box part 2, the PlayStation the third, except there was absolutely nothing notable because the Me was just a worse GameSquare. However, digital games became real, so now it's possible with the Heavenly Arcade in a very small sense. As in, you can now play the Bible game without the need of a disc. And that's about it. The Me can handle up to 32 gigabytes of SD storage, and the PlayStation 3 had too much expandable storage. And the bad naming scheme box part 2 had an honestly fine amount of storage for every model except the 4 gigabyte model, which did not exist and is propaganda by everyone. I tell the truth and only the truth. The bad naming scheme part 2, bad naming scheme box part 2 obviously had a Bible game. Soon, the shadow government got their grubby, crusty little hands on the original arcade. So yeah, that happened. No one really cared except for the Shadow Wizard Money Gang because they were sponsored by them. The next generation had a PlayStation 4th Epic Part 1 Epic Edition. It was very cool. Bad naming scheme box Failure Edition. The PlayStation Portable, which was the first PlayStation Portable. The PSP flopped, and for some reason Nintendo decided against releasing a home console for this generation, but the best console ever, the 3DS, released. And I will say this, and probably say this for a long time, but the 3DS is the best console. Shut up. I know most of the games were mid, but it was really cool. Anyway, eventually, in the year after the best year ever, came the Switch. Absolutely garbage. Games are great, but holy is it a boring console. 2 themes, black and white. No built-in games. No browser, for good reason, so I guess fair enough. No fun. It did have great games, though. There's absolutely nothing notable about the PlayStation 4th Edition Part 1 Epic Edition, nor the bad naming scheme box Failure Edition. The PSP was handicapped, and the 3DS was greatly, awesomely awesome. The Switch was more boring than modern-day Minecraft, one part of gaming I've been deliberately ignoring, because for the most part, early on, it sucked. PC Gamagaging. In 2020, mid-Plague Inc. game, Ultra Kill release. Hakita came down from the heavens and blessed us with Ultra Kill. It's the only game that can be made by a higher life form. The only game that must come straight from the Heavenly Arcade. Heck, the background footage is the Cyber Grind from Ultra Kill. Congrats, you've reached the end of time, aka I'm too lazy to add one more generation of games consoles. Please leave a comment, like, and maybe subscribe. I don't know, man. Please just do it, I'm broke. Please let me know where I need to improve on script writing. Thank you for watching.